Thank you, Minister. Senator Ludlam.
Thanks very much, Mr President. My question is to Senator Fifield, representing the Minister for Communications. Before last September's election, the government, or then opposition now government, guaranteed there would be no cuts to the ABC or SBS. Then came the cancellation of the $220 million Australian network contract and the so-called $43 million down payment cuts to the two broadcasters. All along, the government has maintained there will be no programming cuts and that cutting back office and admin functions would be sufficient. Does the government seriously expect us to believe that the cuts that now cumulatively amount to around 9% of the ABC's overall annual budget won't lead to cuts to programming? Senator Bernardi says it's a good thing. And if so, will the minister give the Senate a guarantee to this effect?
The Assistant Minister for Social Services, representing the Minister for Communications, Senator Fifield.
Thank you, Mr President, and I have good news for you, Mr President and Senator Ludlam and colleagues, and that is that the government is absolutely committed to the health and vibrancy of the ABC and SBS.
Order. Pause the clock. Order. Minister.
Mr President, the government is also committed to ensuring that we repair the budget situation which we inherited courtesy of Labor and the Australian Greens together in coalition in government. Mr President, it's important to make clear that the ABC and SBS are in no way, shape or form being singled out. All government bodies have been asked to play a part in achieving our goal of fiscal repair. And earlier this year, you'd be aware, Mr President, the government, in cooperation with the ABC and SBS—
Pause the clock. On my left. Thank you, Minister. Minister.
Thank you, Mr President. As I was saying, the government, in cooperation with the two public broadcasters, conducted an efficiency study of the national broadcasters' back of house operations, and the purpose of the efficiency study, I think is well known, was to assist both the ABC and SBS to manage their businesses more efficiently, to examine their costs of operations and to identify savings through increased efficiencies and reduced expenses without impacting on the quality and extent of program content. The government's position was not, Mr President, that the ABC and SBS should be immune to savings, but that those savings should be achieved and effected in an informed manner, hence the purpose of the efficiency review. Mr President, as Mr Turnbull indicated—
Pause the clock. Senator Ludlam.
President, point of order, if I may, is on relevance. I asked directly whether the government would guarantee there'd be no programming cuts. The senator only has 11 seconds left on the clock. That's a very simple yes or no.
Thank you, Senator Ludlam. The minister does have 11 seconds left to answer the question, and I remind the minister of the question. Minister.
Thanks, Mr President. The government cannot direct the ABC as to what to do with their funding. Programming decisions are, as they always have been, matters for the board and management of the ABC.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering the question has expired. Senator Ludlam, a supplementary question.
Yes, thank you, Mr President. Minister, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement in draft allegedly contains clauses relevant to the operation of state-owned enterprises, which are seen as a barrier to unregulated trade and competition. We also understand that states parties can submit a list of exempted enterprises. Has the government placed the ABC and SBS on its exemption list, or is the government intending to use the Trans-Pacific Partnership as a lever to privatise or part privatise the operations of the ABC and SBS?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr President. I think, as colleagues would appreciate, negotiation of the Trans-Pacific Partnership is a matter for Minister Robb in the trade
Order
portfolio.
on my right.
And to the extent that I may have anything to offer, or Minister Turnbull may have anything to offer in his capacity as the Minister for Communications, then I'll happily take that on notice.
Senator Ludlam, a final supplementary question.
Yeah, well, you could have ruled it out, but not to worry. Finally, the government is also reportedly considering forcing a doubling of the quantity of advertising that SBS has to run. Could the coalition provide an estimate of the amount by which this will dilute the amount of money that SBS can charge for its advertising, and by how much this dilution of ad revenues will also hit other commercial broadcasters?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr President. The efficiency review, which I referred to earlier, did have some comments and recommendations in relation to the potential rebalancing of SBS advertising. That is a matter that the government has not taken a decision on.